As you settle into the soft embrace of your bed tonight, take a deep breath and allow the quiet of the evening to wash over you. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your chest with each slow inhale and exhale, and imagine the faint hum of the night outside your window, a subtle reminder of the world beyond your room. Above you, the sky stretches wide and endless, a vast canvas of darkness, punctuated here and there by pinpoints of light. Some of these lights are distant stars, ancient and steady, others the wandering planets of our own solar system, and yet, some may be phenomena that human minds have struggled to explain. Tonight, we are going to take a journey across that sky, not just in imagination, but in the stories and experiences of those who have glimpsed its most mysterious secrets. Our destination is Australia, a land of sweeping deserts, dense forests, and remote star-filled skies, where countless eyes have looked upward and witnessed events that defy easy explanation. Australia's vast and varied landscape has always carried with it a sense of solitude, a feeling of being both sheltered and exposed to the immense natural world. It is precisely this isolation that has made it a stage for some of the most compelling and chilling encounters with the unknown. From the wide-open plains of New South Wales to the dense, silent forests of Victoria and the remote reaches of Western Australia, there have been moments where ordinary nights were pierced by extraordinary sights. Lights that move in impossible ways, craft that seem to defy the rules of physics, and beings whose presence lingers in the mind long after they have disappeared. These are not mere tales told to entertain. They are drawn from eyewitness accounts, interviews, historical records, and documented investigations. Tonight, we will listen to these stories in a calm and measured way, allowing them to unfold slowly, carrying you into a gentle mixture of curiosity, awe, and relaxation. The night sky, especially in Australia, has always been a place of fascination. Long before the modern era of UFO sightings, the sky was a source of stories, spiritual reflection, and guidance. Indigenous Australians have gazed at these same stars for tens of thousands of years, embedding celestial events into their dreamtime stories, creating rich narratives that blend observation with cultural significance. Many of these stories describe beings from the sky, lights that move against the natural rhythm of stars, and signs that bring both warning and wonder. Historians note that these early accounts, though framed in spiritual language, often carry striking parallels with modern descriptions of unexplained aerial phenomena. This intersection of ancient observation and contemporary reporting reminds us that the unknown has long been a companion to humanity, a quiet, persistent mystery that stirs both fear and fascination. As the modern world took shape, the skies of Australia continued to draw attention. Early European settlers recorded sightings of strange lights, glowing objects, and movements that did not fit the patterns of familiar stars or aircraft. Pilots in the early 20th century, navigating vast and largely empty skies, occasionally reported encounters with objects that moved with startling speed or unusual patterns. These reports were rare and often dismissed by authorities, but they laid the foundation for a rich tapestry of encounters that would grow more pronounced in the mid to late 20th century. It is worth noting that the human mind is sensitive to the extraordinary, particularly in the quiet and dark of night, and even the most rational witnesses can be influenced by expectation, fear, or wonder. Yet, what makes these Australian accounts particularly compelling is the consistency among independent witnesses, the corroboration of physical traces, and in some cases, official documentation that acknowledges phenomena that defy conventional explanation. Tonight, our journey will move gently through these layers of mystery. We will explore the historical roots of skywatching in Australia, the rise of reported UFO encounters during the 1950s through the 1970s, and the first-hand experiences of those who looked up and saw something that changed their perception of reality. We will consider the responses of governments and media, examining how official statements often contrasted sharply with the vivid experiences of ordinary people. Along the way, we will explore alternative theories, from extraterrestrial visitors to interdimensional phenomena, while grounding our narrative in research and documented evidence. Finally, we will reflect on the cultural impact of these events and the modern methods of investigation, inviting you to drift into a state of contemplative relaxation, where the unknown is not frightening, but quietly fascinating. As you listen, allow yourself to sink deeper into your bed, letting each detail paint a picture in your mind. Imagine the quiet stillness of the outback, the soft rustle of leaves in a forest far from city lights, and the endless expanse of stars above. Picture the faint glow of a light moving across the horizon, its motion deliberate and unexplainable, drawing the eyes and curiosity of those who witness it. Feel the sense of wonder that comes with knowing that the universe is vast, and that our understanding of it is still limited. These are not stories meant to startle you awake. They are invitations to journey alongside those who have experienced the extraordinary, to explore the edges of the known world, and to consider the possibility that there is more above us than we can easily comprehend. By the end of this evening's journey, you may find that your mind has wandered through the deserts and forests of Australia, glimpsed lights that shimmer and move in ways that defy logic, and met the human responses of awe, fear, and wonder. Perhaps you will feel a sense of calm curiosity, a gentle reminder that even as we close our eyes and drift into sleep, the universe above continues to hold secrets, waiting quietly for those willing to look upward. Allow the rhythm of this narration to guide you, slowing your thoughts, softening your breath, and letting the boundary between the known and unknown become a gentle, intriguing space where imagination and reality coexist. So tonight, as your eyelids grow heavy and your breathing finds its natural, unhurried pace, let us begin this journey through Australia's most chilling alien encounters. Let us walk quietly alongside eyewitnesses, historians, and researchers, exploring the vast skies and the stories that linger beneath them. The unknown is not something to fear. It is a companion to our curiosity, a quiet invitation to wonder. And in this gentle, mysterious space, you may find that sleep comes not from shutting the world out, but from letting your mind wander among the stars, the lights, and the whispers of stories that are waiting, just beyond our comprehension. Australia's night sky has always held a profound and timeless presence, stretching endlessly above vast landscapes of red deserts, dense eucalyptus forests, and the rugged coastline where the ocean meets the horizon. Long before modern aircraft or satellites could reach the heavens, the First Nations peoples of this land had already charted the stars and woven them into rich stories that connected the earth, the sky, and human life. Aboriginal Australians, across hundreds of diverse nations and languages, observed celestial patterns with remarkable precision, noting the movements of the planets, the cycles of the moon, and the passage of constellations. These observations were not merely practical. They guided seasonal migrations, hunting practices, and ceremonial life. Yet, alongside this precision lay a deep spiritual understanding. The night sky was also a realm of beings and events beyond ordinary comprehension. There were tales of sky spirits, ancestral beings who traveled across the heavens, and lights that appeared unexpectedly, carrying messages, warnings, or mysteries yet to be understood. In many of these Dreamtime stories, the sky was alive with motion and presence. Some narratives speak of fiery figures or glowing objects that move with purpose, lights that rise from the horizon or disappear into the clouds, and events that leave a lasting impression on those who witness them. Modern researchers and historians have noted striking similarities between these ancient accounts and the descriptions of unexplained aerial phenomena recorded in more recent decades. While the framing is spiritual or mythological, the consistent observation of unusual lights, strange movements, and unexplainable occurrences suggests a continuity in human attention to what lies beyond our everyday perception. It is as if the sky itself has always been a mirror, reflecting not only natural phenomena, but also the human desire to understand the unknown. As European settlers arrived in Australia during the 18th and 19th centuries, they brought their own fascination with the heavens. Navigators, explorers, and early colonial settlers looked up at the same sky with a mix of curiosity and scientific interest. They recorded instances of mysterious lights, unexplained aerial phenomena, and movements that could not easily be explained by known astronomical events. Ship's logs, local newspapers, and private diaries occasionally mention sightings of glowing objects, sometimes described as fires in the sky or strange hovering lights over remote landscapes. Pilots in the early 20th century, particularly during the first decades of aviation, reported objects moving in ways that defied conventional explanation, sometimes racing past at incredible speed, other times hovering silently against the night sky. These early accounts, though often dismissed as natural phenomena, misidentified aircraft, or optical illusions, laid a foundation for a growing awareness that the sky above Australia was more mysterious than it might seem at first glance. The isolation of much of the Australian continent may have contributed to these early reports. Unlike more densely populated countries, where lights, reflections, and air traffic could be more easily explained, Australia's vast interior, remote towns, and expansive coastlines provided a canvas where the unusual could stand out with clarity. A light moving across the horizon in the outback, for example, might be visible for miles, and its trajectory noted by multiple independent observers. Historians note that this isolation, combined with the human tendency to seek patterns and meaning, may have heightened both the observation and the documentation of unusual aerial phenomena. This does not diminish the experiences themselves. Rather, it situates them within a context where the environment amplifies both perception and the human response to mystery. By the time the 20th century progressed into the mid-1900s, a growing number of Australians were recording what they could not explain. The period following World War II saw a global increase in reports of unidentified flying objects, and Australia was no exception. Pilots, military personnel, and ordinary citizens alike began sharing their encounters, often with remarkable consistency. Some described metallic, disc-shaped objects moving silently across the sky, while others noted bright orbs that hovered for minutes before vanishing. In some cases, these phenomena were reported in clusters, with multiple witnesses corroborating unusual movements or lights. Researchers who have studied these reports emphasize the reliability of these accounts, noting patterns in shape, behavior, and environmental conditions that suggest something other than simple misperception. Yet even before the era of structured UFO investigations, there were official acknowledgments of phenomena that could not easily be explained. Newspapers occasionally carried reports of mysterious lights or strange aerial objects, sometimes dismissed by authorities, but often generating curiosity among the public. Some local councils or police records included statements from citizens who had seen something remarkable in the night sky, describing movements, shapes, or lights that seemed to defy known physics. Psychologists and historians note that these early acknowledgments, though sparse, indicate a societal awareness of phenomena that were both extraordinary and deeply compelling. The stories were not sensationalized tabloids, but observations recorded with care, a subtle thread linking Australia's early observers to the more detailed reports of the coming decades. Perhaps the most fascinating aspect of Australia's historical skywatching is the continuity of observation. From indigenous oral traditions, through colonial diaries and pilot logs, to mid-century civilian and military reports, there is a persistent attention to the unusual, the unexplained, and the mysterious. It is a testament to human curiosity. Even in a landscape defined by its harshness and solitude, people looked upward and saw something more. Something that could not be fully explained, something that lingered in memory, and sometimes something that left a subtle imprint on community, folklore. Historians and anthropologists suggest that this continuity speaks not only to the reality of these phenomena, but also to the universal human response to the unknown, a combination of fear, fascination, and wonder. Tonight, as we begin our journey through Australia's most chilling alien encounters, it is important to recognize this deep historical context. These modern sightings are not isolated events. They are part of a long continuum of human engagement with the sky. Whether framed in the spiritual language of indigenous stories or the empirical observations of pilots and settlers, they share a common thread, a confrontation with the mysterious and the extraordinary. By understanding this history, we can appreciate not just the events themselves, but the way humans perceive, interpret, and respond to what lies beyond our immediate understanding. So, as you continue to settle deeper into your bed, imagine looking out over the vast Australian landscape of the past. Picture the ancient night skies as they might have appeared thousands of years ago, dotted with stars and mysterious lights, observed by those who moved silently across the land. Think of the early settlers and pilots, eyes lifted, scanning for the familiar and sometimes seeing the impossible. Allow yourself to feel the continuity of human wonder, the thread that connects ancient stories, historical records, and modern sightings. In this calm awareness, the night sky becomes more than a backdrop. It is a living, breathing stage for mystery, inviting you to journey gently into stories that have spanned centuries. As the decades moved forward into the 1950s and 1960s, Australia found itself increasingly caught in a global fascination with the skies. The aftermath of World War II left societies both fascinated and cautious of technology, especially aviation and new forms of flight that were emerging at an unprecedented pace. Planes that once seemed impossibly fast now became common, and rockets and satellites began to hint at human ventures beyond the Earth's atmosphere. In this atmosphere of technological advancement, the skies became a canvas for both imagination and anxiety, and Australia, with its vast and often sparsely populated lands, was particularly receptive to sightings that captured the imagination. Citizens, pilots, and military personnel alike began reporting encounters with objects that moved in ways that defied conventional understanding. At first, these sightings were sporadic, isolated incidents noted in local newspapers or police logs. But by the 1950s, the reports began to form patterns, suggesting that something unusual was being observed repeatedly across the continent. It was during this period that the term UFO, or unidentified flying object, began to gain traction globally, and Australians were not immune to the conversation. Citizens who had previously hesitated to share their experiences found themselves caught up in a wave of interest, fueled by both media coverage and international reports. The Royal Australian Air Force, aware of the growing number of claims, began to maintain files on reported sightings, occasionally consulting with local police or government agencies when an event could not be easily explained. Researchers have noted that the combination of technological optimism, societal anxiety, and wide-open spaces created a unique environment in which unusual aerial phenomena could capture the attention of everyday Australians. The skies over the outback, the Nullarbor Plains, and even the suburban fringes of major cities became stages for lights, shapes, and movements that would enter national consciousness. Among these reports, a few incidents stand out not only for their strangeness, but for the clarity and consistency of eyewitness accounts. One of the most well-known is the Westall UFO encounter in 1966. In a quiet suburb of Melbourne, students and teachers at Westall High School witnessed a silver, disc-shaped object descend and hover in a nearby field before rapidly ascending and disappearing into the sky. What made this incident remarkable was the number of independent witnesses. Over 200 people reportedly observed the event. They described the craft in similar terms: round, metallic, and moving in a way that no conventional aircraft could. Researchers and historians have noted that official records were scarce and the media coverage muted. Yet the experience left a lasting imprint on the community, inspiring oral histories, commemorative events, and a sense of shared wonder. This event exemplified the growing awareness that the sky above Australia was not entirely predictable, and that extraordinary experiences could occur even in seemingly ordinary locations. Another event that captured national attention was the disappearance of Frederick Valentik in 1978. Valentik, a young pilot, was flying over Bay Strait when he reported a large, fast-moving object hovering above his aircraft. His final communications, recorded over the radio, described a metallic craft moving in a way he could not explain. Shortly thereafter, Valentik vanished without a trace, and no wreckage of his plane was ever found. This incident remains one of Australia's most chilling UFO-related cases, raising questions not only about the nature of the object, but about human vulnerability in the face of the unknown. Researchers have since revisited the case, examining flight logs, weather conditions, and radar data. Yet no definitive explanation has emerged. For listeners tonight, Valentika's story serves as a reminder of how encounters with the extraordinary can leave lasting, haunting impressions on both the imagination and the historical record. These events occurred within a broader social and cultural context that amplified their significance. Post-war Australia was experiencing rapid technological growth, a rise in suburban living, and increased exposure to global media. Movies, television, and magazines brought stories of flying saucers and alien encounters into homes, shaping the way people interpreted unusual events in their own skies. Psychologists and sociologists have noted that collective awareness of extraterrestrial possibilities can influence perception. Yet the Australian accounts of this period were often corroborated by multiple witnesses, suggesting that something objectively unusual was being observed. The combination of personal experience, societal fascination, and cautious official acknowledgement created a fertile ground for the UFO phenomenon to take root, weaving itself into the national imagination. Alongside these famous incidents, countless lesser-known encounters occurred in rural towns, along highways, and in remote desert regions. Farmers reported lights hovering over fields at night, sometimes leaving mysterious burn marks or impressions on the ground. Truck drivers described silver or metallic shapes gliding silently above roads in the outback. Pilots occasionally reported objects accelerating far beyond the capabilities of known aircraft or making sudden, impossible maneuvers that challenged the laws of physics. These reports, while individually compelling, collectively suggest a pattern of unusual aerial activity across Australia during the mid-20th century. Researchers emphasize the importance of cross-referencing multiple reports, examining environmental conditions, and considering both human perception and technological factors. In doing so, they highlight that the phenomenon is neither entirely explainable nor easily dismissed. As the 1960s and 1970s progressed, the rise of organized UFO investigation groups further formalized the study of sightings. Enthusiasts and amateur researchers began compiling case files, interviewing witnesses, and attempting to cross-check reports against radar records, military logs, and meteorological data. Some of these groups emphasized skepticism and scientific rigor, while others leaned toward more speculative theories of extraterrestrial visitation. The effect was a growing body of evidence, both anecdotal and documented, that framed Australia as a particularly active landscape for unexplained aerial phenomena. In many ways, this period set the stage for the modern investigation of UFOs, bridging historical observation with contemporary curiosity and scientific inquiry. As you listen tonight, imagine the skies of Australia during these decades, the vast expanses of red earth and open fields, quiet towns under a blanket of stars, and the distant hum of aircraft engines. Picture ordinary people pausing in their daily routines to gaze upward, noticing a light that moves too strangely to be conventional, a shape that cannot be identified, a moment of wonder that lingers in memory. Feel the subtle tension between skepticism and belief, between rational explanation and the possibility that the unknown may occasionally touch the lives of ordinary Australians. This was a period when the ordinary and the extraordinary converged, when the skies themselves seemed to whisper secrets, and when eyewitness accounts began to accumulate into a rich tapestry of mystery. By the end of this section, the listener is ready to move deeper into the personal stories themselves, the vivid, often unsettling, and deeply human encounters with phenomena that resist explanation. It is a gentle yet compelling setup, inviting the imagination to roam while the body begins to sink further into rest. In these moments, the night sky is more than a backdrop. It is an active participant in a narrative of curiosity, fear, and awe, a quiet, constant presence that invites both contemplation and gentle wonder. Australia's vast and often isolated landscapes have provided a perfect backdrop for encounters that leave lasting impressions on those who witness them. Tonight, we will journey alongside the men and women who experience something extraordinary, observing lights and objects that seem to defy explanation. These accounts are drawn from historical records, interviews, and meticulous research, blending the wonder of personal experience with the grounding of credible investigation. As you listen, allow yourself to imagine standing beside these witnesses, looking up at the same vast sky, feeling both the ordinary calm of night and the subtle tension that comes with the presence of something unknown. One of the most remarkable instances occurred in 1966 in the quiet suburb of Melbourne at Westall High School. On a seemingly ordinary morning, students and teachers witnessed a silver, disc-shaped craft descend into a nearby field. Over 200 individuals reportedly observed the object, describing it as metallic and round, hovering with a precision that no known aircraft could achieve. Some students recalled a strange hum, a vibration in the air, and an almost imperceptible warmth as the craft moved above the ground. While official reports were sparse and media coverage limited, the vivid memories of witnesses created a lasting imprint on the community. Psychologists studying the event note that mass sightings of unusual phenomena are often subject to skepticism, yet the consistency across independent testimonies suggests a remarkable level of reliability. For the witnesses, the experience was both awe-inspiring and disquieting, a moment when the familiar school grounds suddenly became part of a mystery that extended far beyond ordinary understanding. Moving forward into the 1970s, the disappearance of Frederick Valentik provides a chilling example of individual encounters that leave unanswered questions. Valentik, a young and experienced pilot, was flying over Bay Strait when he reported seeing a large, bright object hovering above his aircraft. His final radio transmissions described the craft's metallic appearance and strange movements, which defied normal flight dynamics. Moments later, Valentik vanished, leaving no trace of his plane. This incident continues to be analyzed by aviation experts, radar technicians, and UFO researchers, yet no definitive explanation has emerged. Listening to this story, one can imagine the mixture of professional calm and escalating fear that a pilot might feel when confronted with an object moving beyond the limits of known technology. The human response, confusion, heightened awareness, and a lingering sense of vulnerability, reminds us that encounters with the unknown are deeply personal, leaving an impression that can persist long after the event has passed. Beyond these famous cases, countless rural sightings contribute to the tapestry of Australian UFO experiences. Farmers in remote regions have often reported bright lights moving silently over fields at night, sometimes hovering for several minutes before disappearing without a trace. These lights occasionally leave subtle traces on the land, such as circular burn marks or flattened crops, which have been documented and photographed by local authorities and researchers. Truck drivers traveling long stretches of highway have described metallic shapes gliding above roadways, moving in ways that challenge human perception. Even when no physical traces remain, the psychological impact of such sightings is notable. Witnesses describe feelings of awe, fear, curiosity, and sometimes an almost meditative focus, as if their attention is entirely drawn to the inexplicable event unfolding above them. In addition to the visual phenomena, some eyewitnesses report unusual sounds or sensations accompanying these encounters. A low hum, a vibration in the air, or a sudden shift in temperature can precede or accompany the appearance of an unidentified object. Researchers studying these patterns suggest that while some sensations may have natural explanations, the consistency across reports is striking. The human mind, attuned to subtle environmental cues, can detect anomalies that may escape ordinary perception. Yet, when combined with the visual element of the sighting, these sensations contribute to a profound and lasting memory of the experience. For many witnesses, these encounters are not frightening in a traditional sense. Instead, they are deeply moving, a blend of wonder and unease that lingers quietly in the mind. It is also worth noting that the responses of witnesses vary greatly, depending on the context and the individual. Children, for example, may describe events in vivid, imaginative language, capturing sensations that adults might attempt to rationalize. Adults often approach the event with a mixture of skepticism and disbelief, struggling to reconcile what they have seen with their understanding of the world. Military personnel, trained to observe and report unusual occurrences, provide some of the most detailed accounts, noting exact movements, altitudes, speeds, and behaviors of objects in the sky. Across these diverse perspectives, a common thread emerges. The encounter is deeply human, a moment where the ordinary world is interrupted by something inexplicable, and the observer is left with an indelible memory. The psychological aspect of these encounters is as important as the physical. Studies suggest that witnessing unexplained phenomena can lead to heightened awareness, a sense of time distortion, and sometimes lingering dreams or recurring thoughts. In many Australian cases, witnesses report thinking about the event years later, recalling minute details with surprising clarity. Researchers have attempted to understand why some individuals are more affected than others, examining factors such as personality, prior interest in astronomy or the paranormal, and even the circumstances of the encounter itself. The result is a nuanced understanding. These experiences are not merely hallucinations or misperceptions, but complex interactions between observation, environment, and the human mind. As you listen tonight, imagine yourself standing quietly in the Australian outback, the air still and cool, the sky above scattered with stars. Picture the witnesses, ordinary people going about their lives, suddenly drawn to a light or shape that does not belong. Feel the subtle thrill of curiosity, the gentle tension of uncertainty, and the quiet awe that accompanies moments of the unknown. Notice how the world feels both familiar and profoundly different when something extraordinary appears. This is the essence of the eyewitness experience, a pause in ordinary life, a moment when the veil between the known and the unknown feels thin, and the mind and senses are fully engaged in observing the impossible. Across the decades, these personal encounters have accumulated into a rich body of testimony. Each story adds depth and texture to the broader narrative of UFO phenomena in Australia. Together, they form a mosaic of human experience, combining the mundane and the extraordinary in a way that is both captivating and calming. By listening to these accounts, we are invited not only to witness the events themselves, but to understand the human response. The mixture of fear, curiosity, and wonder that defines our relationship with the unknown. In the next part of our journey, we will explore how official records and media coverage interacted with these eyewitness accounts, sometimes confirming them, sometimes casting doubt, and always contributing to the larger tapestry of mystery. For now, allow yourself to sit quietly with these stories, letting the weight of history, observation, and human experience settle gently around you. The sky above remains vast and unknowable, and in that vastness lies a quiet, mesmerizing invitation to observe, to wonder, and to drift peacefully toward sleep. As eyewitness accounts of unusual aerial phenomena multiplied across Australia, questions naturally arose. How did the authorities respond? And what role did the media play in shaping public perception? The mid to late 20th century saw the Australian government, particularly the Royal Australian Air Force, cautiously tracking reports of unidentified objects. Unlike sensationalized portrayals often found in popular culture, the official approach was measured and methodical, reflecting both curiosity and caution. Military personnel recognized that while some sightings could be attributed to conventional aircraft, atmospheric phenomena, or celestial events, there remained a subset that simply could not be explained. These cases were documented, analyzed, and sometimes archived for further investigation, even if public disclosure was limited. This delicate balance between skepticism and openness would set the stage for decades of intrigue, blending credible documentation with the unknown in ways that continue to captivate researchers today. One of the key aspects of government response was the creation and maintenance of files detailing sightings. The Royal Australian Air Force, inspired in part by global UFO investigations, such as the U.S. Air Force's Project Blue Book, kept records of unusual aerial phenomena reported by both military and civilian personnel. These files often included detailed notes on the date, time, location, number of witnesses, and descriptions of objects. In some cases, radar data or flight logs were cross-referenced to verify or challenge eyewitness accounts. Historians who have examined these files note a striking pattern. While the majority of incidents could be explained through natural or man-made causes, a notable number remained officially unexplained. This acknowledgement, calm, understated, and sometimes buried in bureaucratic language, demonstrates that the authorities recognize the existence of phenomena that could not be dismissed outright. For researchers and curious minds, these files provide a window into the intersection of human observation, scientific scrutiny, and the persistent allure of the unknown. The media played an equally important, though often unpredictable, role in shaping public understanding of UFO phenomena in Australia. Newspapers, radio broadcasts, and eventually television provided both coverage and commentary on notable incidents, from high-profile encounters like the Westall UFO sighting to smaller, rural reports that captured local attention. In some cases, media coverage amplified public interest, encouraging additional witnesses to come forward and contributing to a growing sense that the phenomenon was widespread. However, media outlets sometimes sensationalized events, emphasizing the mysterious or extraterrestrial aspects, while omitting the methodical details reported by witnesses. This duality, serious documentation versus sensationalized storytelling, created a cultural landscape where curiosity and skepticism coexisted, allowing the public to explore the unknown without feeling entirely ungrounded. An interesting example of this interplay occurred during the Valentic disappearance in 1978. The incident was widely reported in newspapers and on television, highlighting both the pilot's experience and the mysterious circumstances of his vanishing. While some coverage leaned toward speculation about alien involvement, others emphasized the practical challenges of base-straight aviation, weather conditions, and mechanical failure. This tension between sensationalism and sober reporting mirrors the broader discourse surrounding UFOs, a phenomenon that challenges both scientific reasoning and human imagination. For listeners tonight, it is important to note that the media's role was not simply to frighten or entertain, but to reflect the complexity of human encounters with the unknown. Each headline, each radio report, contributes to a broader cultural memory, shaping how Australians and the world perceive these extraordinary events. Beyond the mainstream press, specialized UFO research groups began compiling their own analyses of media and government documents. These citizen investigators often sought to bridge the gap between official reports and personal accounts, cross-referencing multiple sources and seeking patterns that might illuminate underlying truths. Some researchers discovered cases where official explanations, such as atmospheric anomalies or misidentified aircraft, did not align with witness descriptions. Others found that certain reports, while acknowledged by authorities, were downplayed or omitted entirely from public records. This layered approach to investigation highlights a key point. The phenomenon exists in both public and private spheres, and the full picture is best understood when we consider both eyewitness experience and institutional documentation. It is also worth noting the psychological and cultural impact of government and media responses. For witnesses, the knowledge that authorities took note of their experience could be validating, confirming that they were not imagining the event. Conversely, dismissive or skeptical official statements sometimes heighten feelings of isolation, confusion, or disbelief, leaving individuals to process extraordinary experiences on their own. From a societal perspective, the cautious acknowledgement of unexplained phenomena allowed curiosity to flourish without tipping into panic. People could consider the possibility of something beyond ordinary understanding while remaining anchored in a rational worldview. This delicate balance between awe and groundedness is part of what makes the Australian UFO narrative uniquely compelling, blending credible investigation with the intangible thrill of the unknown. Researchers have also observed that patterns in media and government coverage often mirror the trajectory of UFO phenomena itself. Periods of heightened reporting frequently coincide with spikes in sightings, suggesting that awareness, both individual and collective, plays a role in perception. Historians point out that cultural factors, such as the Cold War, the space race, and technological optimism, influenced how events were reported, interpreted, and remembered. The result is a rich, layered tapestry, Documented encounters, personal testimony, and societal interpretation intertwine, creating a narrative that is at once factual, psychological, and deeply human. For those listening tonight, this means that every sighting, every file, and every article is part of a larger story. A story that stretches from the skies above remote Australian towns to the minds and hearts of those who observe them. As you imagine these events, picture a quiet rural town where a farmer notices a strange light hovering over his paddock. A police officer takes careful notes, and a local newspaper editor weighs how best to present the story. Consider the care and caution with which government officials analyze radar readings, flight logs, and witness statements, attempting to reconcile ordinary explanation with extraordinary observation. Feel the tension and intrigue of a society trying to balance skepticism with curiosity, the known with the unknown. The very act of observation, whether by civilians, journalists, or authorities, creates a shared awareness of the extraordinary, a collective acknowledgement that the sky sometimes offers glimpses of what we cannot fully explain. In this way, government reports and media coverage do more than document events. They shape the narrative, the cultural memory, and the way we collectively understand encounters with the unknown. They remind us that these phenomena are not merely figments of imagination, but experiences that intersect with history, technology, and human psychology. And as you listen tonight, allow yourself to feel the calm curiosity that arises from this knowledge. The sense that while mysteries persist, there is also care, method, and thoughtfulness applied to understanding them. The balance between wonder and reason becomes a gentle rhythm, one that encourages both exploration and relaxation, inviting your mind to drift slowly into contemplation of the vast, mysterious skies above. As we continue our journey through the mysterious skies of Australia, it becomes important to explore the various ways in which these extraordinary sightings have been interpreted. While eyewitness accounts and official reports provide the foundation for understanding, many researchers, enthusiasts, and skeptics alike have proposed alternative and paranormal theories to explain what people have seen. These explanations range from the scientific to the speculative, from advanced human technology to the possibility of beings from beyond our world, and each offers a different lens through which to view the unknown. Tonight, as you settle deeper into your bed, allow yourself to imagine these possibilities without fear, letting curiosity and wonder guide your thoughts rather than uncertainty. One of the most commonly discussed theories is the extraterrestrial hypothesis. This idea suggests that some of the objects and lights observed in Australian skies could be craft piloted by beings from other planets or star systems. Researchers who support this theory often point to the behaviors described in eyewitness accounts. Sudden acceleration far beyond the capabilities of known aircraft, silent hovering, instantaneous changes in direction, and geometric precision that defies natural patterns. In cases like the Westel encounter or the Valentic disappearance, these characteristics appear repeatedly, compelling some to consider that ordinary explanations, planes, weather balloons, or astronomical phenomena, may be insufficient. Yet even within this hypothesis, there is caution. Proponents emphasize that we cannot yet definitively prove the origin of these craft, only that their movements and appearances are inconsistent with known human technology. Alongside the extraterrestrial hypothesis, there are theories grounded in interdimensional or multidimensional frameworks. These suggest that certain sightings could represent phenomena from parallel realities, dimensions beyond our perception, or temporal overlaps, where different layers of reality briefly intersect with our own. Eyewitnesses often describe lights appearing and disappearing suddenly, objects moving in ways that seem impossible, or sensations that defy ordinary experience, moments that could be interpreted as brief glimpses into realities beyond our own. Psychologists and parapsychologists studying these accounts note that while such theories remain speculative, they provide a lens through which the strangeness of these experiences can be framed without resorting solely to extraterrestrial explanations. For listeners tonight, this approach invites gentle curiosity, the idea that reality may be broader and more complex than our everyday perceptions suggest. There are also explanations rooted in natural and atmospheric phenomena. Some researchers point to optical illusions, rare meteorological conditions, or plasma-based lights as possible sources of reported sightings. For example, the phenomenon known as ball lightning can produce hovering, glowing orbs that move unpredictably and then vanish suddenly, resembling descriptions from rural sightings in Australia. Temperature inversions and unusual cloud formations can create reflections or distortions of light, while human perception is naturally inclined to assign meaning and shape to unfamiliar visual stimuli. These theories do not diminish the sincerity of eyewitness experiences. Rather, they offer a grounded explanation for some encounters, while acknowledging that not all sightings can be easily accounted for by natural causes. Indigenous perspectives add yet another layer of understanding. Aboriginal Dreamtime stories often describe beings descending from the sky, lights moving with intention, and otherworldly visitors who interact with the human world. Scholars emphasize that these accounts are not mere myths, but reflect a complex relationship with the natural and celestial world. When modern sightings echo the imagery and behaviors described in these ancient stories, it suggests continuity in human observation and perception. In this light, the sky becomes a place where cultural memory, spiritual interpretation, and the potential for unknown phenomena intersect. These perspectives remind us that encounters with the extraordinary are not solely scientific or sensational. They are also deeply human, shaped by culture, history, and collective imagination. Some researchers and enthusiasts have even explored the idea that advanced human technology may explain certain sightings. During the Cold War and in the decades that followed, rapid developments in aircraft, drones, and experimental flight technologies created objects capable of movements and speeds that were unknown to the general public. While many sightings defy conventional explanation even with this consideration, the possibility that some encounters involved secret human craft cannot be entirely dismissed. These theories highlight the tension between skepticism and belief, inviting contemplation of both human ingenuity and the limits of our current understanding. Throughout these discussions, it is important to remember that the most compelling aspect of alternative and paranormal theories is not necessarily proving a single truth, but exploring the boundaries of possibility. Eyewitness accounts, historical records, and even government files all point to a phenomenon that resists complete explanation, a mystery that invites multiple perspectives. Psychologists note that human cognition is both imaginative and analytical, capable of perceiving extraordinary events while also seeking patterns and meaning. The intersection of these faculties allows for the development of hypotheses, each reflecting a different dimension of our engagement with the unknown. As you continue to relax tonight, imagine these possibilities unfolding quietly across the Australian sky. Picture a light hovering silently above a deserted field, moving with purpose yet defying comprehension. Consider the thought that it could be an advanced craft from another world, a brief overlap of dimensions, a natural atmospheric anomaly, or a reflection of something far older embedded in the collective memory of the land. There is no rush to decide, no urgency to label or categorize, simply the experience of wonder, the gentle curiosity that arises when we confront the extraordinary. This is the essence of paranormal exploration, observing, contemplating, and allowing the mind to wander among possibilities without fear or anxiety. The diversity of these theories also highlights the deeply human need to explain the unexplainable. Witnesses often struggle to reconcile what they have seen with their understanding of the world, turning to scientific analysis, spiritual interpretation, or imaginative speculation. Researchers studying the phenomenon emphasize that the value lies not only in reaching definitive conclusions, but in the process of inquiry itself, the act of observing, recording, analyzing, and reflecting. Each sighting becomes a touchstone for curiosity, encouraging both witnesses and the public to consider the limits of perception and the vastness of the unknown. Finally, it is worth noting the subtle beauty in the uncertainty itself. Unlike stories that demand resolution, these phenomena remain elusive, inviting contemplation rather than conclusion. The unknown becomes a space for gentle wonder, a quiet reminder that the universe is far larger and more complex than we often acknowledge. For those listening tonight, the skies of Australia serve as both setting and symbol, a place where ordinary nights are punctuated by extraordinary events, where human perception encounters mystery, and where imagination and observation coexist in a calm, reflective rhythm. By exploring these alternative and paranormal theories, we do not seek to frighten or unsettle. Instead, we create a space for quiet curiosity, where the mind can roam freely, imagining possibilities and observing mysteries that persist just beyond our comprehension. As you lie in the stillness of the night, allow these thoughts to drift gently alongside you, a soothing exploration of the unknown that coexists peacefully with the calm of sleep. As the decades of sightings and unexplained encounters unfolded across Australia, their influence extended far beyond the isolated fields, quiet highways, and remote skies where they occurred. These events seeped into the national imagination, shaping culture, media, and collective memory in ways that were subtle, profound, and enduring. Australians, like people everywhere, have a natural tendency to incorporate the mysterious into stories, folklore, and art. Over time, UFO sightings became not only events of curiosity, but symbols, narratives that reflect the human fascination with the unknown and our desire to understand our place within a vast, often incomprehensible universe. For those listening tonight, it is helpful to imagine not only the skies themselves, but the ripple effects of these extraordinary events across communities, schools, newspapers, and later, popular culture. The Westall UFO incident of 1966 offers a clear example of this cultural impact. Beyond the immediate eyewitness accounts, the event became a part of local history, remembered in school projects, documentaries, and community commemorations. Murals in the area depict the silver craft hovering above the grassy field, preserving the image of the encounter for future generations. Oral histories from those who witnessed the event as children describe how it shaped their sense of curiosity and wonder, influencing their understanding of the possibilities that lie beyond ordinary perception. These cultural echoes transform an isolated sighting into a shared experience, allowing entire communities to participate in the story, to remember it collectively, and to pass down the sense of mystery from one generation to the next. The broader Australian media and entertainment landscape also absorbed these phenomena. Documentaries, television programs, and books explored UFO sightings, drawing on eyewitness accounts, government files, and historical context. Some of these productions aimed for accuracy and thoughtful analysis, while others leaned into sensationalism, amplifying the mystery and intrigue. Even in cases of dramatization, the stories served to embed UFO phenomena into the cultural psyche, reinforcing a national awareness that the skies above Australia were not always entirely predictable. Historians note that such coverage created a shared language for describing the extraordinary. Terms like flying saucer, unidentified craft, and alien encounter became part of everyday conversation, while the specific Australian incidents lent regional texture and authenticity to the narrative. In rural areas, the impact of sightings on local culture can be particularly vivid. Farmers, truck drivers, and small-town residents often share stories that are passed along in casual conversation, becoming part of local folklore. Community memory preserves the awe, fear, and fascination of those who observed the extraordinary, creating subtle social rituals around storytelling and reflection. Some towns have embraced these narratives as part of their identity, incorporating them into festivals, tours, and educational projects. In this way, the sightings become more than historical events. They are woven into the social fabric, influencing how communities perceive themselves, their environment, and the night sky. Artists and writers have also drawn inspiration from these encounters, creating works that blend imagination, history, and observation. Paintings depicting silvery discs hovering over the outback, novels exploring alien visitation in the Australian bush, and films dramatizing events like Valentika's disappearance all reflect a fascination with the unknown that transcends the purely factual. These creative expressions allow audiences to explore possibilities, emotions, and interpretations in a safe, immersive way. Psychologists note that engagement with art and storytelling is a natural human response to mystery, providing a framework in which to explore fear, curiosity, and wonder without immediate consequence. For those lying quietly tonight, this connection between imagination and reality encourages gentle reflection, a meditative space where the mind can wander among possibilities while remaining calm and relaxed. Another subtle but important influence of these sightings is their effect on public interest in science, astronomy, and investigation. UFO phenomena have inspired countless Australians to study the skies, learn about flight and radar technology, and engage with physics and mathematics to better understand aerial motion. Amateur astronomers, skywatching clubs, and research societies often cite historical sightings as motivating factors in their work. The cultural impact is thus not only creative but educational, blending curiosity about the unknown with scientific inquiry. For a listener at rest, this connection between observation and learning reinforces the idea that fascination with mystery can coexist harmoniously with reason, contributing to both relaxation and mental stimulation in a gentle, reflective way. Cultural responses to UFO phenomena also highlight the intersection between skepticism and belief. In some circles, the events are celebrated as evidence of extraterrestrial life, while in others they are approached cautiously, analyzed scientifically, or viewed as misperceptions of natural or human-made objects. This duality creates a uniquely Australian discourse, one that respects both the imagination and the evidence, one that allows curiosity to flourish alongside careful reasoning. Anthropologists note that such narratives serve an important social function, giving communities a shared topic for discussion, reflection, and identity building. By engaging collectively with the unknown, Australians reinforce social cohesion and cultivate a sense of connection to both the land and the sky above. Even decades after the events themselves, cultural echoes remain alive. In classrooms, children hear stories of mysterious lights over Westall or Bay Strait, cultivating a gentle sense of curiosity about science, history, and the universe. Local festivals celebrate the mystery with art installations, guest lectures, and community discussions, maintaining the connection between personal experience and collective memory. Museums and archives preserve documents, photographs, and first-hand accounts, giving the public access to historical evidence while allowing space for imagination. These layers of cultural engagement ensure that the phenomena continue to influence society in ways that are thoughtful, reflective, and enduring. As you drift further into relaxation, imagine the night sky above Australia not only as a space for extraordinary encounters, but as a canvas upon which human culture, imagination, and memory have been quietly painted. Picture communities sharing stories around a campfire, children listening wide-eyed to tales of mysterious lights, artists sketching the silhouettes of silvery discs against the outback horizon. Feel the gentle rhythm of curiosity, wonder, and reflection that these narratives create, a soothing and steady current that carries the imagination calmly forward. The cultural impact of UFOs in Australia is not simply about the phenomena themselves. It is about how humans respond, interpret, and integrate the extraordinary into daily life, creating a bridge between mystery and understanding, between observation and imagination. In this quiet space, you can sense the harmony between what is observed in the skies and what is remembered on the ground. The stories, the art, the discussions, and the collective fascination form a tapestry that connects generations, blending awe and curiosity into a calm, enduring rhythm. As you lie still, allow this sense of shared wonder to settle around you, a gentle presence accompanying your journey toward rest. The skies above Australia remain vast and full of possibility, and the cultural imagination they inspire provides a soothing reminder that mystery and human creativity can coexist beautifully, quietly guiding the mind into contemplation, reflection, and the peaceful descent into sleep.